I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. Well, it's nice to meet you. I love your backstory. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
So let's begin our journey with this. I always start with this question. 6 years ago, the pandemic changed our lives. So many things about the way we conducted our lives. How did you get through
hmm
that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
Well, funny enough, during that era is when I had always known about platforms like Zoom or WebEx, GoToMeeting, and things of that nature. But of course, during that time frame is when I really delved into it because we had to operate in that way. That's when I actually sought out a certification for instructed via that method also. And so, that really opened up a lot of um, opportunities, I guess you could say. And what it also allowed me to do was really to see people develop in different ways and see the impact that the pandemic was having on people as far as from a leadership standpoint and really having to connect with them in that way.
So let me ask you this: if there's a lot of things going on a daily basis for you as a professional, if I put you in front of a bunch of 12 or 13-year-olds at career day, and one of the kids wanted you to synthesize what you do, how would you explain what you do?
Okay. Well, I always lead with I am a corporate learning and development professional. Now, let me break that down. My job is to help people learn their job better. And my job is also to help leaders do their job better as far as guiding, directing their people, and being an inspiration or motivation for their people. So 12 and 13-year-olds, it's I help people get along
Okay.
from a relationship standpoint, a relationship between that leader and their team. So that's one of my biggest responsibilities.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid? When you were 12 or 13, what was your dream job?
Oh my gosh, well, I've always liked to draw.
Uh-huh.
So I was I was either going to be an artist, an architect, or a fireman, the
Okay.
typical boy thing, if you want to go that way. But architect, because I've always had this love for skyscrapers and tall buildings. My dad used to always talk about buildings and where they were, with places he had been, and Empire State Building and this and that. And so I developed a love for tall things, tall buildings, and I said I'm going to build them. And
Yeah.
so those were my go-to.
So where were you born and raised?
Actually, right here, Greenwood, South Carolina.
Okay, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
what were the early seeds that were planted, whether it was family or those that you looked up to that eventually have been harvested into this career that you have? How did all of this happen?
It's without a doubt my parents, I will say, but in particular my father, who is really the person who I dedicated the publication to, the Virx-Leonatus publication. Um, it was because especially I'm thinking as a man now, um, he has always been there, and he has always set an example for me. Every event, every problem, every anything. He's always been around. Both he and my mother have been around. So I've been blessed in that way. And I say blessed because, that's really what it is, and nowadays, because not everybody has that, for whatever reason. And so his words, his impact, his teachings really shaped me into who I am and my desire to want to see other people do well, other people succeed, because I could genuinely tell he wanted to see me do better than him,
Yeah.
and succeed in everything that I do. And so he would drive me to that.
So aside from your father, when you look at like business and in that professional world, what who were inspirations? Who were inspirational forces that shaped the way that you wrote your book and the way that you conduct business and help others get to a better place?
Um, I have to say, first, I will start off with a lady that proved to be a mentor of mine. not famous, but impactful on my life. Her name was Pamela. She was got me started into believing that I could do the things that I wanted to do. I was very, I had, I would say, maybe gifts, but I didn't know how to bring them out. And she actually inspired me to bring them out even more. She drove me to bring them out. She put me in situations where, the success of our department was ultimately, of course, it was all of ours, or it would come back to help her. But she put me in positions to where I would receive credit or I would shine. And she told me, these are the things you can do, and I'm giving you this assignment because I believe in you. I have a cousin that has served as president of a university and served as president of the new school in New York City. His name is Dwight, and he has been in academia his entire life, and he is now serving as a provost or something. I forgot his title right now in St. Louis, but he is very influential. He's written several publications, and has served in leadership positions his entire life. And the way he conducts himself, as far as that's concerned, dealing with many influential people, of the president of universities, and other items like that. I mean, that's really that's an impression on me as far as what the way I go or my pathway. Uh, and rather, as far as if you want to go to as far as business leaders themselves, actually there's a gentleman who by the name of Andy. I will say he is a leader in a major corporation here in the United States, and I like his quiet, measured way of leading. I've been able to witness it, with his team, and he does not create groupthink with his team. He creates a standard of, okay, team, let's figure this out, but I want to hear it from you. That type of thing. And then he'll give his thoughts on the things that he's heard. So he really exemplifies one of the things in the book that I say as far as being the room's point of stillness. He brings everything back together. And so yeah, so those three people I will say definitely have a larger impact on me.
So speaking of your book, let's get into it. What was
Okay.
ultimately the decision to write this book, and what are you hoping the reader gets from it?
Okay. Well, my decision to write it really spawned from there's so much out there telling people how to be better leaders. Right? You can be motivational, you can be this, or you can be that, and then there's always the next big acronym or the next, you know, popular phrase or whatever to employ. And I thought about it from the aspect of, okay, let's look at leadership from just being a better person, right? And use techniques to broaden our perspective. Think about it as a leader, as individuals, as people, period. Okay, we have to make so many judgments in our lives from day to day. So many judgments and make so many decisions. And if we make decisions just based on our narrowed viewpoint of just what we've been exposed to, the things we've seen, maybe in our area, things we like, and we squeeze all those judgments in there's going to be so many people on the outside of that don't have any idea that can't see what we see. I like to use Plato's allegory of the cave, where it's like, okay, we get used to seeing what we see, and our reality is based on what we see. Whereas if we bring in cultural appreciation and um, other things like the arts, I speak of the arts in the book, and learning appreciation about how we look at that, how do things make us feel, just broadens our perspective. Therefore, we have much more room now to make all of these judgments that we had to make in an area this size. We can now make it in a much larger area and maybe get along with some of those people that we formerly saw as difficult,
Yeah.
or at least teach us how to reach them. Even if we don't agree with them, we can reach them and have meaningful dialogue.
So, as the man behind the mission, what is it when the alarm clock goes off in the morning to get your feet to hit the ground, to do a job at a high level, to influence and change lives, and to take care of your own soul? What is that energy every day for you?
For me, it's about who can I impact. I try to make it a goal to have at least one meaningful, impactful conversation with a person each day that I run into. And not just your casual run by, hey, how you doing? Okay, we're good, doing all right, good. And we keep going, or, brief conversation over a meeting, but so how are you kind of conversation? What are you, kind of things you're dealing with? What's been going on? One impactful conversation with a person. And that, again, just helps me broaden my perspectives in dealing with people as a whole.
So, if you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that is an inspiration, that does kind of the work that you're doing,
Wow.
and you
Mm-hmm.
could hang out and have a lunch that might help you on your journey, anybody alive, who would you love to meet and hang out with for a little bit?
Anybody alive? Wow, that is a big one. You know, hmm, I would have to say there's a gentleman by the name of, excuse me, pardon me, but Ronald Harvey.
Yeah,
He is a leader. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a leadership expert
yeah.
in his field, and he does a lot of speaking engagements, and he is really big on connecting people. Connectivity is huge, in his realm, because he believes that connectivity is really like the key to relationships, and that's really where I live. I live in that realm as far as the connectivity is concerned. You know, but Ron definitely, I hope to be able to connect with him. One day. I like Ryan Leak. I don't know if you ever listened to any of his material.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Ryan is really engaging to me. I'd love to be able to meet him and get to know him, and to sit down with him. But those are two people that I can think of right now.
We put it out in the world, so we'll see what happens. So let me ask you this. If you were to have a dream tonight, there's a part of us when we are busy lives and we get older and we think back to when we were kids. What would that young
Yeah.
version of us think about the way our lives turned out? If you ran into your 18-year-old version of you and you walked up and
Mhm.
there was a film projector and you hit play and it was a 60-second highlight reel of your life, would that young version of you believe it?
No, no, it would not. For being completely honest with you, because that young version of me was not one that I would have ever dreamed that would be interested in teaching others. I was very shy, very reserved as a child, and honestly, I mean, at my root, I still am. That's the thing, we morph and become what we need to become when we need to do it.
Yeah,
And my conviction for what it is that I want to teach others is what drives me to do that. And once I start, I lose all, I lose any of that reservation, and any of that shyness. It goes away. I love speaking and dealing with crowds and with people and doing workshops, and so it's like that just goes away until afterwards. Then it comes back, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm curious, when you look at business is a little bit like sports. There's this kind of like Michael Jordan. He was the guy on the Tar Heels that he was a late bloomer, but he became the best ever. We love these triumphant stories. Same thing with
Mhm.
business. There's all these business leaders that started with nothing. Everybody thought they were crazy and they turned into a behemoth. But when it comes down to companies, who do you admire that built a company that not only does it right, that has loyalty, but the employees like it, the customer likes it. It's just a good company. Is there anybody out there that you emulate that does that?
Um, if we want to go really from a large standpoint for somebody that having an idea and sticking with it, I would have to go with Bezos.
Yeah, Yeah.
just because, I mean, people thought he was crazy. So you're going to do this internet bookstore,
Yeah.
right? And, there's this famous picture of him with the hand of the banner, and the desk, so you're just going to sell books on the internet. And now, you look at him, you look at it now, what it's grown into. And that's a conversation I was actually having with my wife at one point. She was trying to understand what it is I'm trying to do with Virx-Leonatus or VX culture, right? And she couldn't quite grasp it. And I said, I know, but I see it. It's like I see it, and it's coming together, and it'll grow how it grows. It's like I'm going to let it lead me. I know kind of where I want to take it, but when things happen, you kind of let it organically grow itself.
Yeah.
It's like the Codex gives me the groundwork because that states my belief. And so whatever derivative products and engagements come from that belief system, so be it. It's one of those type things. So I think if I had to name someone, that's probably who I would go with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I remember when there's been viral clips of him when he was on Leno and he talked about how he was doing revenue sharing and all of that and how he wasn't making money.
Mm-hmm.
People were laughing and thought it was just hilarious. And now
Right.
it's like he's, you know, got all the whole thing. I mean, we know the story.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look back on your career and everything that you've accomplished and overcome and evolved to, what are you the proudest of?
Um, I think my creativity, because my creativity is something that I had allowed business and life to shell or put in a box for so long, for so many years. Because sometimes in business we're guilty of being put in ourselves in a box. We put ourselves in a box because we want to conform, and we toe the company line, you know, and we do the things that we see we're supposed to do. But somewhere along that line, my creativity has been it was sparked. I think it's when I got back into my art, honestly, and I'm like, I can do these things and just be a good person, and I think I can achieve more that way. I've gotten back into my art. I draw, paint, I enter shows, but I use a lot of those same concepts in my connections with people. So I'm
Yeah.
really most proud of that and the way that I can pull those two worlds together.
So let's say you walked into a room of everybody that's known you in a business sense throughout your career, because business can be kind of a serious world. You walk up to a podium and you get the chance to tell them one fun story. Maybe the first concert you went to, the best sporting event you ever witnessed, a seminal place you traveled to, selling a piece of artwork, getting a compliment for what you did. What would be a fun story that you could tell that room that would humanize you a little bit to that group?
Oh boy. I call this kind of I call it my tuition. Okay, that's what I framed it. Um, there was a point in my career where the person I mentioned at the outset, my mentor, if you would say, so to speak, she actually left to take another opportunity at another company, and so I was still at the company she recruited me to. Um, and for the better part of 2 years, I ran the training and development department at that company, but I did so without the salary and without the title. But at the same time, I had two guys reporting to me and a document control specialist. Now, mind you, again, I'm not being paid to be a manager at this point in my career. I'm not being, I don't have the title of the manager at this point in my career. So I like to tell people I could have easily been made bitter in that aspect because things promises kept coming. We're going to interview. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, and brought in several people to interview. But credentially and just from an experience standpoint, they didn't have what I I already brought to the table. He said, I knew that I wasn't saying that to them, but they knew that, and so I let it make me better. I took that as an opportunity to learn how to create and allocate funds through departmental budgets to to learn to deal with state agencies and third party contractors and set up events and everything that a manager and a leader does at next level, because I was now exposed to it. Even though I didn't have the title, I had the exposure.
Yeah.
And so I let that build. That's why I call it my tuition. It's like I went to school, you see, but that gap in salary, that's what I paid for it,
Yeah.
you know. And so eventually, I left that situation and I started my own consultancy. And um, I'm 10 years in on that consultancy, even though I still do, 9 to 5, the work like that. But I mean, I'm 10 years into that consultancy. Um, I've branched it off into the Virx-Leonatus side, and I have achieved certifications as a corporate image consultant also. Um, Professional and training management. I've written 2 children's books even. Linux Lee Teaches Me they're on Amazon as well. And they're about refinement and teaching, especially young boys, in the ways of, introducing themselves, shaking hands, looking at people, tying a necktie, those things that young boys grow into as we grow into gentlemen,
Yeah.
That help us to be more productive members. But yeah, that my tuition story always sticks with me.
I love it. That's great. So, Keenan, everyone has a perception of you. There's all these bubbles of people in your life, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that gets your books, that knows your art. But you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow. Keenan is an individual that loves anything that is any creativity or anything that bears the mark of a creative backbone. I can see that somebody has put thought and effort into their work. I have been garnered or called perfectionist many times, by many people. That I have to be made to kind of let things go. I am pretty particular because I think about my work in the sense that my name is on it, and so if my name is on something, I want it to represent who I am as I feel like as a brand. Yeah. And what I want my brand to be is something that is refined, something that is looked at as being crafted in excellence, something that that if you got this from me, I've done my best on it.
Yeah.
All right. Can I make mistakes? Of course, I make tons of them. But at the same time, it's the effort and my willingness to work with people. I want to humanize people. I believe in the human spirit that wants to succeed, wants to do things well, and I strive to try to reach that in people.
So if anybody wants to get your books, they want to reach out, they want to learn more, any of the good business in your world, where's the best place to go?
Virx-Culture.com. That is my new website. We just launched it maybe about a week ago now. And there's a lot of material there. There's a lot of material on the construction there. There's a seminar series on the 5 pillars of the book that I am constructing that I'll be launching soon. There's a contact me feature there that comes directly to me. So I see all of those. And I'd love to hear from anyone. If I do speaking engagements, I do, do everything. We're branching out. Like I said, we're growing organically.
I love it. I love it. I will put links in the show notes. Keenan, what a joy, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.